Hello and welcome, everybody. It is Coach Action Jackson, and I'm here with another episode of Client Success Stories. I've got my girl Stacy here, and I'm so excited to share her story because she did such an incredible job, and she's been such an inspiration in our private client community that I wanted to share her story with everybody here. So Stacy lost 10 pounds. 5% body fat and 2.5 inches off her waist. She got her dream bikini body. She looks amazing. She's stronger than ever. And I'm so excited to welcome her to the program. Stacy, thanks for being here.
Thank you. Hi, Jackson. Thanks for having me. I'm honored to do this with you and talk about our journey together. And I'm just a mom of two. I have twin boys, keep me very busy. So this has been a really fun and exciting program to do and to have them kind of do it with me in a way. And I'm just a mom, a twin mom from Texas.
You're not just a twin mom from Texas. Come on, you're a mom from Texas. That is so important. It's really one of the most incredible, important jobs in the world. And the example and the inspiration that you've been to those kids, and honestly to so many other people, it is awesome. It's really commendable. And I just want to say thank you for that right off the bat. Okay. So you're not just a mom, you're so much more than that. And I want to just start by kind of reversing things and going back to the beginning, kind of where you started. What was that mindset like? You were kind of in a position, I know you felt like maybe you were spinning your wheels a bit, but just walk me through kind of where you were at before we started working together and why you kind of got to the point where you're like, I need to do something.
Okay. Well, previously, before I got the Tonal, I had always been with trainers in the gym. I'm not one to create my own programs. I don't really want to do it, and I don't think I'm particularly good at it. So I prefer to outsource that. So when I connected kind of with your programs, especially, I did a lot of the 4 Weeks to Fat Loss series over and over, and I really loved them. And I knew that I wanted I wanted more. I tried several programs. And then I just figured, well, where do I go from here? These are great, but I know that to grow and to change, you need to kind of switch things up and focus. And I was reading on the Tonal community, somebody had mentioned, hey, in a comment somewhere, did you know Jackson can program, things in your Tonal? And I was like, what? He does custom Tonal programs for me, for anybody. So I just started looking into that. And then as soon as I found out that you did that, I was like, oh, I'm sold. I just need to figure out how and when and why and whatever. But I was really excited by that because I thought, I didn't know that was a possibility. I just kind of was spinning my wheels and thought, how many times can I do these programs and really see real changes? And I wanted to focus on the areas I wanted to focus on. So I just thought, wow, this is perfect for me. So I reached out to you and we had the conversation, and I was just like waiting for the other shoe to drop. I was like, this is a dream. So it's been great to have that, and to also do the nutrition component as well, which is so important. So
that's what I was going to ask you about next. So the workout's awesome. We got to focus with customizations on some of the stuff that you wanted to work on a little bit more. Obviously, we're including variety. We're keeping it fresh. All of those really cool things that keeps you kind of like much more interested, motivated, and really leveraging progressive overload from one phase to the next. Because one of the big things that a lot of people struggle with is jumping from one workout to the next or one program to the next is not having that progressive overload built in and really not knowing how to measure it other than just increasing weight. So we focus on it, not just from a weight perspective, but total volume, time under tension, the actual length of the workouts, density. There's a number of factors that we kind of play into it. But nutrition was obviously one of the key components and really one of the ways that we get to see results, combining that with the training. Where was your mindset and kind of where were you at nutritionally before we started working together?
Well, you're right. Yeah, you cannot outrun a bad diet like everybody says. And I don't think my diet was bad per se, but I think the macros that I had before were not really as good as they are now. And they weren't customized to the type of exercise I was doing, and more carbs, and not really focused on eating whole foods. It's like, as long as, it fits in those numbers, you're fine. Not really focusing on the quality of food. And I know what's considered, normally healthy, like vegetables and fruits and things like that, and what's not, but it still didn't really have a good balance. It was just kind of eat whatever fits in those macros. So I really tried to focus on, especially being vegetarian, the whole aspect of things, getting the protein in that way instead of just eating, things that maybe tasted good and fit those macros but weren't super good for my body, and just cleaning out my system in a way and making it kind of a clean slate. So yeah, and that's exactly why I wanted to reach out to you, because like you said, you said it perfectly. I couldn't have said that myself. The progressive overload and all those things that and you're so good at, you're just really a genius at it. So all those things together just really worked like so well and so quickly too.
I appreciate that. So we got obviously the training, we combine it with the nutrition, we get them to integrate and kind of work together, which was awesome, and that kind of helped. You're vegetarian, so we had that as one of our constraints, but certainly not something that was problematic. Able to work around that and kind of integrate things. Make sure you're getting your protein in as well. Make some adjustments. Really get a detailed plan together. And I think that's one of the things that so many people struggle with, is that they don't have a detailed plan. They think I'm going to eat healthy, eat clean. Maybe they'll do keto or something. And that's kind of as far as they take it. But we really want a framework for like, what does eating healthy mean? Kind of like if you go to your financial planner and he says, we're going to save money for retirement. You're like, well, what does that mean? What's the asset allocation? How much? When can I retire? We want more of a plan than just eat healthy or eat clean. So we got you the framework. We kind of got you the plan together in the details. You executed like a boss, by the way, and you started seeing results pretty quick, which was really exciting. So talk to me about like those initial stages. Was it difficult? What was it just exciting? Were you able to jump in? Like, just talk me through maybe the first couple of weeks when you're kind of making this big change with new workouts, new nutrition plan, or you're in the group, like all this stuff is kind of happening all at once.
Yeah, well, so as someone who's tried a lot of fad diets and things like that, like you said, you can't just rely on that for a long period of time, or it burns out, or it's like, what's next? You lose some weight and you gain it back. So learning those healthier habits and just kind of adopting it as a lifestyle, and this is me now, this is what I do, but I can also have that flexibility, was really important. But in the beginning, I was just kind of like, I just need to follow this. I need to be exact, and I need to try to, fit it in as best I can and exactly how he's saying. And then I kind of realized like, I figured out, I guess, how to customize it and to introduce new things. So at first it was a little bit overwhelming. There's a lot of resources, which is great, but sometimes I'm like, where do I go? But everybody was really helpful about, just start slow, start simple, reach out for questions. You're always so helpful. Like, don't suffer in silence. Let me know if you need something. And the group is so amazing, and it's so nice to have that component as well. So I don't think we all want to be bothering you all the time. So I'm just like, hey, what did you do in this situation? And it's just nice to form those like, almost like friendships with people that are like-minded. But I was gung ho. I knew that whatever you told me to do was going to work. I just needed to do it. So I just had to figure out how to fit it into my lifestyle. And, it's just figure out what things worked well for me. So, but I was pretty much, I can be very disciplined. And so I was like, I'm just going to do it. It's just part of my life. It's part of my regimen. So I didn't really feel like I was missing out on certain things. Oddly, I think the ratios of how you had the macros just worked out where I felt full. I felt, satisfied, and it was enough time to see progress, but not too much where you start to feel like you're really missing out. And then you say, okay, now you can have a cheat meal. And that was a good time. And, it just kind of all worked out. I think you have it mapped out really well. So it fits, and just makes you feel like you can do this, if that makes sense.
I love that. So you mentioned a couple things I want to point out there. The first thing you mentioned is really adopting a lifestyle as opposed to just a diet. So many people think, okay, I'm going to put like a temporary Band-Aid fix on this long-term problem. But the reality is that both of us, or everybody, is going to be eating for the rest of our lives. So we need to come up with a solution that's going to solve this problem forever. And in order to do that, we need to convert our diet to a lifestyle. And if we can convert that to a lifestyle, now we can get the result, but we can keep it forever, which is the whole goal. Because the goal is not to win fitness. The goal is to stay fit. You don't win marriage, you stay married. So we want to really make sure that we're having a long-term solution. It's flexible, has variety. It doesn't make you feel super restricted, and you can still get to your goal, but also obviously continue it from there and maintain it, which is awesome. And the second thing is that you said it's a little overwhelming at first, but you had a really good mindset. You're like, I'm going to do this. You had the good self-talk that you were using and leveraging that allowed you to embrace help, ask for help, obviously get help from the community and other people. And that kind of pushes you forward and kind of gets you going. And then once you start seeing progress, it gets exciting. So talk to me about some of the initial progress that you saw and kind of how that helped you stay in the game.
When I looked at the pictures, like I took the first picture and I was like, I think I took it so many times because I was like, gosh, is this what I look like? I don't feel like I look this way, but I just felt like the Michelin man. I just feel like I'm puffy. I felt less puffy, less inflamed. I just felt better. I felt more energetic. I think after a little while, I don't know, people started to say like, oh, you look like you look like you're doing something different, And I think the big part about that was getting support from people around me too, they're just like, oh, Stacy's going to just eat her omelets or whatever. They're not even going to bother me. Like, do you want this? No, she's just going to have her egg white omelet. She's just going to have this or that. So they kind of know, this is hard with people around you that are doing their own thing. And then there's that social pressure, or you don't want to feel rude or you don't want to feel a part of things. So everybody just kind of wrapped their arms around me and my mindset, and so that made it easier for me too. So I just said, don't worry, don't bother me about it. And they're like, okay, we won't, So they respected that, and that's important to have people that support you. But even if you don't, you just have to keep going anyways. I've been a vegetarian since I was 11, and that was not a popular opinion with a lot of people, and I've always had to kind of fight that off. Like, why don't you eat meat? Why don't you do this? And it's like, okay, it's just part of who I am. And so I think that, it just becomes part of your identity in a way, those things. And
Yeah,
and
that's so important.
Sorry,
What you said there.
Something that I'm just so grateful for, because I feel so, that was an unexpected, something I gained unexpectedly from this program, was just changing a mindset. I don't know why I feel like mentally stronger as well, just going through this program. And I can't really say what or why. I know there's exercises we do, but I just feel like, yeah, I can do this. Certain days I don't want to, but I do it anyways. Today I did my leg day because tomorrow it's busy and I really didn't feel like it. And then afterward, I'm like, why am I always so like, I don't want to do this? Because I always feel better after. And then after I'm like, well, it wasn't that bad. It's just, you psych yourself up. So you just go for it. And I just like that about myself, of what I've learned from doing this. And just, I feel like I just have a better attitude about things, which I didn't expect.
Love that.
Yeah. So I really like it.
Lot to unpack there. So the first thing you mentioned is that the picture that you took, the first picture, right? The first set of photos, felt like that wasn't you. And it's so funny how with so many people I speak to that do these interviews, when they take their first set of photos, they say, this doesn't look like me. And it's almost like the picture in their head is different than what they're now seeing in the mirror or in their photo. And you wanted to kind of get back to that and embrace that version of yourself that you know and you love. And that's, and that's awesome. And it gives you some drive in the beginning to want to make that shift. And then I also love what you said about, it's just part of who you are and your identity. And that's the thing that I think so many people forget and don't understand when they go on these journeys, is it's about changing your identity and how you think of yourself and really who you are and the version of yourself. Because once you shift your identity, everything becomes easy. Once you're a fit person, it's no longer difficult to, whether it's hit your macros or drink your water or do the workouts or say no to dessert or whatever the things are that you have to do to stay fit. You will do those things. And you could also have dessert, but you will still figure out a way of making sure that you stay fit if your identity is that I'm a fit person, because it's not just how you think about yourself, it's then the behaviors and the actions that you take that reinforce the identity, right? So that's really important too. And you also mentioned that you had community support around you, which is so fantastic. Now, a lot of people struggle with that. And even you said sometimes you used to not have community support when, being a vegetarian, living in Texas, everyone eats meat and barbecue. That's like the thing. So how did you either corral that community support around you, or how have you dealt with that, the social pressures of things? Because that's one of the things that people struggle with and usually can cause them to fall off course, is not having social support around them, or not knowing how to get people to be on their side, or just having people not understand and then falling along with the crowd just because. How did you manage that?
I think there's been unpopular opinions about things that I do. For example, like you said, the vegetarian, or she's doing this or she's doing that. But I think it's keeping that inner circle kind of tight, and not keeping I like to do that anyways, and not being around people that are negative. I don't like to be around negativity, but we don't see eye to eye all the time. There's certain conversations with people that you're just like, we're not going to get anywhere, agree to disagree. But most of the time, I don't want to say I don't care, but it just doesn't bother me like it used to, because I just know my goals. And if I need support from somebody, I know that I have those people I can lean on. But if I don't, it's just, you just have to realize like that not everybody thinks the same way. It's just one of those unpopular conversations. But most of the time, I feel like when you meet resistance, it's because somebody wants to be in your position, but they don't want to do the work to get there. Like I think you told me about the guy you were on a road trip with, where he wanted to know what you ordered, and then he ordered something different when you told him like, well, this is what I would get, because as much as we care about those people, and you want to help them, they maybe they don't really want to put in the work. So you just have to recognize that. And I don't want anybody who might be watching this to think like I never had a slip up or a dessert or something like that. I mean, there were times where I did just tried to like go back to normal habits the next day, my new normal habits, not just like let it spiral out of control. I mean, I'm human too, but I think it's almost impossible to keep up at that level all the time without just kind of putting all that pressure on yourself. And when you have little kids around too, it's like, oh, okay, you want to bite, mommy? Okay. It's like sometimes you just have to eat the birthday cake at the party, just have a bite, because I don't want my kids' memories to be like, Mom never ate ice cream with me. She just sat there and watched. So sometimes you have to do the things and just get over it. But yeah, it is hard. There's a lot of social pressures, and I don't really understand why people are like that. Just let people do their own thing. But it is what it is. So just have to do you.
Yeah, I love that you keep your circle tight and you keep it with people who are going to support you and who are happy for you or want to, be there with you and have your back when you're trying to do something or change or grow or do something that's maybe unpopular. And that's awesome. So I try to do the same thing with my friends and the people around me as well. And it's one of the reasons why I moved when I started my business, was because a lot of people around me were like, you're crazy, man. You got a 6-figure consulting job. What are you doing? You're going to become a personal trainer? Or like, are you dense in the head? Like you're going to go from $100,000 to zero money and a personal trainer? Like that seems kind of like a step back. And those same people, circle a couple years later when I was doing really well, we're like, oh, I always knew you're going to make it. And it's like, what? Like you're coming out of the woodwork here. So so I love that you keep your circle tight and around with really good people, which is awesome. Now, you mentioned your kids, which I want to definitely touch on. And how did they play a role in all of this? And you're such an incredible example. Obviously, in our Facebook group, you post photos, your kids are working out with you sometimes, which is awesome. So what role did they play in you wanting to go on this journey? And what role did they play in the journey? Whether it's making sure that you kind of push yourself or knowing that they're watching you and wanting to do well, like just talk to me about that.
Well, I mean, when people say like your kids inspire you, I mean, it's true, but literally like one of my kids, he really is my inspiration, because he's had to overcome so much, and they both are, so I'm not putting one above the other, but especially watching his journey, which if I talk about it, I might get a little emotional, but he's so strong mentally and physically, and the things that he's overcome is like really like impressed me, and just thought like I want to be strong like him. And so I want to be able to do all the things that they want to do and that we can do together, and grow up and be like, mommy was always there with us, because they're very active. So it's, channeling that energy. It's not like, do you want to do something active? It's like, what are we doing that's active today? They just are a little rambunctious boys. But I think from the very first time, they love, by the way, just back up, they love to, there's a little room that we have that has some stuff in there that they can do if there is a time where they are in the same room while I'm working out, and they'll just kind of look at look at the screen, and sometimes they'll be like, I can do that, and it's just really cute. I think it's good from a young age, to get started at least noticing those habits. Like you always talk about, your dad and your Hulkamania weight sets and stuff. It's just, I want them to be, to live a long, happy, healthy life and do the things I want to do. But just, my particularly one of my son's journeys has kind of made me feel like really inspired, and just, to be 4, now 5, going through what you went through, it's just really, touches me. So they really are my inspiration. So it's just,
I love that.
Yeah, that's really
It's
fun.
incredible how you're both kind of each other's inspiration and example. You're channeling their example, and then you're pushing yourself, and then they're seeing you, and then that's kind of creating this cycle, which is really powerful and also incredibly beautiful and awesome all at the same time. So that's really, really just amazing. Now, tell me, what were some of the obstacles along the way? Because I'm sure it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. Obviously, the photos, you see the two, and everyone sees the journey, and they say, "Oh my gosh, Stacey lost 10 pounds, 5% body weight, 2.5 inches off of her waist. She must be a superstar. There was never any issues, and it was just smooth sailing the whole way." And the journeys are never that simple, and they're never that smooth. There's always rough seas that we have to face. So, what were some of those rough seas and obstacles that you faced, and how did you overcome them?
Well, yeah, and I think that's why it was important for me to mention that I didn't want anybody to think that I'm just like this perfect angel. I didn't feel like that. Sometimes I'm like, damn it, Stacey, why'd you do that? But it's just important to not go into that self-sabotaging behavior and just to know that, you can make a mistake and not be like a self-fulfilling prophecy, like, oh, I'm a failure and I can never lose weight and this and that. And just to recognize that, sometimes our emotions get the best of us or whatever. I think there was times where I'd feel like emotional and want to eat something, but once all of those things started to fall into place and I just really just thought like, what is this going to do for me? Nothing. It's like shopping. I love to shop, but it's temporary high, right? So you just think, okay, it goes in my closet. Now what? I still feel those feelings. So really trying to deal with those feelings. And I think I told you one time I ate some cookies and I didn't even really want them or never really craved them before. But when you challenge yourself, I think like this, it's that mental toughness and it just, you just get challenged by different things or different feelings or thoughts, or it's just like, it's the long game. So I guess sometimes there's going to be ups and downs. Or I think the hard thing would be going to like kids' birthday parties or something, or just social events. And sometimes you don't plan the best, or life comes up and you didn't get a chance to really eat. So you're hungry and like, what am I going to do now? There's only pizza or whatever. So, you just try to work around those things. So maybe on that day you decide, okay, I'll have a cheat meal and I'll have a piece of pizza just to, because everyone's staring at you like, why isn't she eating pizza? But anyways, if it fit and it was something that I wanted to do, I would just say, okay, I'll just, let go today and try to just enjoy the situation and realize that this is life and unexpected things come up and there's ways to correct that. So I think it's just, again, just try to go into the situation and have a plan. When I went to Nashville for a few days with my sister-in-law and we had talked about it and planned ahead, and he told me kind of a strategy. And so I think it's just recognizing that there will be things that come up. And I think you said you try to save your cheat meals for social occasions or, situations where you feel like you might not have the best choices, and then you just kind of work around it. But I really try to plan ahead. Pretty much anytime I don't eat something I make, I kind of think that's sort of like a cheat. So I just try to make it a clean cheat or just count it as a cheat meal and just move on, So I try to really eat everything that I make instead of eat out. And then that's just what works best for me is just planning ahead. I guess just planning ahead.
100%. And this is one of the things that most people struggle with is putting in the preparation and the planning. And you can plan for times where you're not going to have a plan, right? You can plan for that, which is something obviously that you've been able to master as well. And so many people think, oh my gosh, something happens. It's the end of the world. The diet's over, spiral out of control, cue the rumination in their head. And you've been able to really manage that well. So I want to commend you for that and for taking a perspective and really being able to pull back and what's called psychological distance, which is seeing the overview and saying, okay, this is not going to completely ruin the entire thing because I had one slice of pizza at a birthday party. I can certainly recover from this. It's going to be okay. It's only a couple hundred calories. And also knowing and kind of planning again, maybe not having a cheat meal that week or something, if that's part of your routine, because knowing organically that's probably going to happen at some point. You're going to be at a birthday and there's only going to be pizza and cake or something, and you're going to probably want to have some, and that's okay. And that's, again, part of the plan. And when it's part of the plan and you're executing, well, now you're trusting yourself. You're executing what you plan to do. And that keeps you on track because, again, it's just all part of the plan, which is really awesome. So I love that you've been able to manage the voice. You're able to kind of overcome, take perspective, which is so important. And also, again, still live your life and enjoy yourself without being at the party, being the person that's not eating any pizza ever, which is great. So that's all really, really fantastic stuff. And again, I want to commend you for overcoming all those obstacles because you did it so well. And I know it wasn't perfect all the time, but you managed to keep moving forward. And that's the most important thing. No matter what happened, you kept moving forward and you kept moving closer towards your goal every time. So I just want to take a second here and just say thank you so much for all of your effort, for trusting me, for investing in yourself, for being an incredible mom, for being just an incredible example, for being an inspiration to not just your kids and your family and your friends and neighbors and everybody, but to all the people in the group and everybody who's seen your photos. I mean, you're strong, you're fit, you're healthy, you're happy. And I'm just so blessed and grateful that I got the opportunity to work with you because it's been such a pleasure.
You're
So
not done
thank
with
you.
it yet, though. Thank you. We're not done, but yes, no, thank you so much. I mean, I really didn't expect to gain so much from this program, and I'm so glad that that I found that person's comment and I looked into it because I really just am so thankful to you as well for giving me the tools, and allowing me to take this journey. And yeah, it's been awesome. And
I'm going to ask you two more quick
sure,
questions. One is, so we talk a lot about mindset, and I think you could be really physically fit and still not have a strong mind. And I like to call myself an example of that because there was a point where I was really fit and I just didn't have the right mindset. And it was something that I never really thought about. So we talk a lot about mindset in the program. How are you able to really strengthen your mindset while also kind of strengthening your body? Was that hand in hand? Was it strong, strengthen the body, kind of lifted the mindset and vice versa? Or how did you kind of go about working on the mindset component that so many people don't even think about as part of their sort of health and fitness journey?
I don't know if I can really answer that question, except for I think it's hand in hand. I think it just kind of came as part of the process. Just doing things that are difficult and just proving to yourself that you can do it. There were some exercises that we did that were helpful with that, but I don't think they're mutually exclusive. I think it's part of the whole process. And then just being able to come, every week and talk, tell you about our week, and then getting those personalized messages were really important. And it was just gives you that what you need to kind of keep going. And, you can be self-motivated, but it's also nice to see someone that you look up to that's helping you or say, hey, good job. And this is what you can work on, and to give you those tidbits. So it just kind of, I guess by osmosis, I get all that information, and it just kind of made me mentally tougher. And then I just felt like, I don't want to feel sorry for myself. I just want to make things happen. So I think just it was a part of the journey. I don't think there was anything in particular that really was the pivotal moment, but I think it's part of the journey.
I love that. And it's just, these small little habits over time, as you mentioned, doing difficult things and then really learning to trust yourself that you can overcome these things. And I like to think of it for myself, at least, as like a cookie jar. I learned this from the David Goggins book. And every time you overcome something very difficult, you kind of put it in a cookie jar. And then when I have something else that I'm faced with, I just go, remember when? And then I list off all the really difficult things I've done in my life. And it's like, okay, yep, there's a cookie. I remember that. And now let me go forward. So I love that you're able to kind of cultivate that, and they were kind of working hand in hand. And as you got physically stronger, you also got mentally stronger as well, which is fantastic. Now, last question I want to kind of ask you is if there's somebody else out there, right? So there's somebody who's kind of in Stacy's position, rewind 6 months ago, and they're kind of struggling. They feel like they're stuck and they know where they want to get to, but they're not there. What advice would you give to them? How do they get started? How do they begin?
If you want something, you just have to go for it. So just call you, make that phone call, take that next step, just do it. I've not seen anybody that's regretted it. And I've seen the progress, firsthand, in myself and then all the other people in the group. And it's just, you can do it. I mean, there really isn't unless there's like an extreme medical condition or something where maybe somebody can't do something, it really is up to you to do it. You just need the tools. You provide the tools, you have the prescription, we take the medicine, so to speak. So you just have to follow the formula, and it works. I mean, putting the right things in your body, and doing those exercises and doing all the things in a certain way where they work well together is just awesome. And then, it's just, you won't regret it. Most people just need to take that first step and just believe in themselves. And then I don't think anybody's ever regretted doing something for themselves. And it's hard to be, a parent or be just a busy person and not feel somewhat guilty about doing something for yourself. But it's like, I always think of it as like in an airplane, they say, put your mask on before your child or someone else that needs help. And you do need to be a strong person for yourself and be there for yourself before you can really give to other people. So it's not that you're not putting other people, as a priority, but you also need to put yourself as a priority. So say just do it so you can be that best version of yourself for you and for family or friends or whatever. So just do
Very
it.
well said. Very well said. Last thing is, I know that you had a special green bikini that you wanted to wear for your vacation trip.
Yeah.
How was it to wear the bikini, to take the photos, to do the whole thing and look incredible while doing it?
Thank you. Yeah, it was awesome. I don't know what it was. I have so many bathing suits, but I just saw this one. I was like, ooh, this would look really cool in a tropical location. But last time we went, I just was like, I can't wear this. This is too low here. Or I just didn't feel comfortable. But yeah, I put it on and I had no worries about it at all. So, it was great. It was awesome. I loved being able to just be myself on the vacation. I never once worried like, is this, sticking out here weird? Or I could let go and even just do things like, just real quick about the mental part of it is like the kayaking across, you don't know how far it really is to get there. And I have my kids or a kid, my nephew or my niece with me. And I'm like, I am literally in charge of this boat. No one's helping me. But I knew that I could do it. It might be harder sometimes than I thought, or it might be further, but the destination when you get there is so amazing and it was so worth it. But as an analogy, I guess it was like, it wasn't always easy to get there, but I did it and I believed that I could and I knew that I could. It was hard, but I did it, so it was kind of like the same idea, same principles. It's like, it was not smooth to get there, but once you get there, it's worth it. So.
Stacy, thank you again. I appreciate you. You are so much more than just a mom. Remember that. You're incredible. You're such an inspiration. And I just I can't say thank you enough to you. So
thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks again.